Thank you very much for the invitation to the event and also for the moderator for the kind introduction. The presentation, my 5 minutes today, are on microinsurance decisions, and basically the question there is, are there gender differences? I'm presenting this on behalf of the real authors, Daniel Clark and Neha Kumar. Daniel is about to go on paternity leave, and Neha is on maternity leave, and so they basically asked if I could give the talk on their behalf. Oh, I'm actually supposed to, it's working? Okay. Okay, so just one slide on background, hypotheses, and methods. So I think everyone working in the climate change field is aware that index-based insurance, has been identified or is considered as a key method, coping mechanism to deal with climate extreme events. The key index-based insurance mechanism is based on rainfall, a rainfall index, but sometimes it could be an extreme temperature, could also be based on extreme temperature as an indicator or as basically the index, which would lead to a payout. But at the same time, it has become a darling of development agencies, but at the same time, uptake has remained quite low, among others because the basis risk remains high. And the basis risk basically is that what a farmer sees in his field, his or her field, might be quite different from what the index suggests in terms of payout. So the study had actually many different objectives, but this particular paper only looks at the gender differences, and the question really is, the hypothesis is that there are gender differences in demand for such insurance products. And the method is a lottery choice experiment just to look at risk aversion, because if the thinking is that if farmers are risk averse, they're less likely to adapt to climate change, and then they should be more likely to actually take up insurance products. So that was the first method. And the second one is to do some field experiments separately with women and men, and also with joint groups, just to see how they respond to this demand elicitation of these insurance products. And what are the results? In terms of risk aversion, there have been, I guess it's one of these gender myths that we heard early on. The general thinking is that women are more risk averse than men, but now there have been quite a few more recent studies that have found that that's not necessarily the case. And this is one of the cases where men were actually slightly more risk averse generally when it's not framed as an agriculture transaction or activity. But women were found to be, again, slightly more risk averse when we talk about an agriculture transaction or a risk experiment in the agricultural domain. So basically, I think the book is not yet closed on who is more risk averse. Interestingly, also, the study later found that the risk aversion didn't necessarily lead to increased purchase of index-based insurance. And again, the key reason there is that we have the basis risk that he or she might not actually get what they see on their field. They might not get that replaced. Another result of the study is that, and that's very interesting for Bangladesh, that both women and men were basically equally interested to purchase agriculture insurance, which is surprising given that men are the main decision makers in agriculture in Bangladesh. Even so, women's labor participation has increased quite dramatically, more than 100% over the last 5 or 6 years or so for various reasons. There's the so-called feminization of agriculture in Asia. We see more migration of men in the region. So basically, women are, slowly but surely becoming increasing decision makers in agriculture in Bangladesh. But the majority certainly is not. Another result is that men do buy more units of insurance, but women don't seem to act as rationally in terms of agriculture insurance demand. Basically, they buy less units when the cost is lower, and they buy more units when the cost is higher. So basically, they vary the cost of the insurance products. And what that tells us is that they just don't have the same financial literacy in terms of what they should be buying. So basically to sum up, women do value risk sharing in agriculture, even so they're not the primary decision makers. Given that they have fewer years of schooling, which obviously is easy to document, also they have lower financial literacy, which again was easy to document, and they have fewer insights on ag risk, which simply because they are not as much involved. And therefore they are at a disadvantage in insurance purchase decisions. So basically there is a gendered knowledge gap, and insurance demand is to some extent gendered, but the key issue is the knowledge gap. So what's the implication? You know, today most or maybe all, actual index-based insurance products that go on the ground in pilot studies or are being scaled up, they're not really have a lot of explicit attention to gender, because the thinking generally is the household head will purchase the insurance, and so we're not, you know, a special or separate demand needs assessment for women are not done separately for women and men. However, you know, that could lead to an underperformance of the insurance, to an a suboptimal take-up of the insurance products, and also obviously suboptimal overall performance of the insurance. And so given that even the shocks, the climatic shocks affect women and men differently, we see there's different literacy. So basically we do need a more gendered approach to index-based insurance. And here just a couple resources. So we did 2 projects on gender and climate change, and this is just one of about 15 case studies that we did. They're all summarized in this set of policy notes that's upstairs. We also have a toolkit that's upstairs, and you can find some more resources there. So including you can read a longer version of my presentation. Thank you very much.